In episode 1 of So Say We Travel, the podcast, we will discuss how we accidentally found the perfect RV for our family.
Which involves why we started shopping in the first place, how our shopping experience went, including roadblocks, where we ultimately ended up purchasing from, and why the RV we purchased is perfect for our family.
And perfect may not necessarily mean what you think it means. And finally, we'll talk about what inspired the name for our new rig,
and how that theme will tie into our travel journey.
Welcome aboard to So Say We Travel. Hi, I'm Sean.
Hi, I'm Charlie.
And we are new RVers,
Yes.
relatively new RVers, and we are hoping to document our journey and our travels with this experience and share it with you, primarily with the goal of to do what other RVers have done for us. We try to capture the mistakes, the tips and the tricks and the little known things that you can only learn from experience. And so we're hoping that through our experiences and you coming along this journey with us, that you would learn some things and enjoy the experience with us, but also learn something, hopefully. That's kind of the goal. This is our first podcast episode.
Yes.
And it's very, very fitting that this is our first podcast episode. We've actually been RVing for about
6 or 7 months now?
6 and 7 months now. Yeah. But 6, 7 months ago, our first big trip was to the Jellystone, the Yogi Bear Jellystone down in
Fredericksburg?
Fredericksburg,
I can't remember the name of it, but I know it was in Fredericksburg.
Fredericksburg, Texas. And today we are actually at the Yogi Bear Jellystone in Hill Country, not as far south, a little bit less far south, and that's right in New Braunfels.
Right outside. It's Canyon Lake, Texas.
Canyon Lake, Texas. So, yeah, it's just really cool, kind of come full circle, and very fitting that we finally got the ball rolling with getting these podcasts going. But we're also recording this on video, so you can watch this on YouTube. And a lot of times these podcasts and YouTube videos will just be more in-depth information about what we're covering in our blog posts that will be on sosaywetravel.com. So, yeah, you can also follow us on Instagram. I'm going to put that in there. A lot of the content, way to keep up to date what we're doing on a day-to-day basis in our travels will be go through Instagram, and that's at So Say We Travel. So like I said, you can either find us on sosaywetravel.com, watch these videos on YouTube, or follow the podcast just to keep up on the information, keep up on us, or if you want to communicate, reach out, anything like that. So I thought it'd be really cool for our first podcast episode to reflect on how we got started on this journey.
Yes.
And it was a pretty interesting story. A lot of serendipity took place.
We think it's interesting.
Yeah. So I think we actually found what we found by accident. Like, it was factors outside of our control that led us to our RV, the Galactica. And I'm glad it worked out the way it did. It was just so perfect. It just happened perfectly. So let's just first talk about what set this off for us. What was the first thing that got us looking into this whole lifestyle, an RV, things like that? Where were you at?
So the first thing we did was we went to Port Aransas for a family vacation. So we had booked an Airbnb. So we stayed relatively close to the beach. It was within walking distance. We could go to the beach. So we went there for about 4 or 5 days. And as soon as we got there, we walked to the beach, and there was one RV that was right there, but there were a lot of RVs parked up and down the beach. And we've been to the beach before, but never really paid attention to the fact that there were a bunch of RVs parked on the beach. But for some reason, this particular time, we just really paid attention to the fact that there were so many RVs parked along the beach.
Yeah, I think it's because where we got the condos at, and I went and looked in Google Maps, and it's in the blog post. I mapped the distance out. We were about 800 to 900 yards from our condo from the beach, and they had a nice little walkway from the condos that we were staying at. Little break through the surf, through the sand dunes that separated the beach from the mainland, and right where our opening was it was actually an advertising point for them that there was an opening in the dunes for you to get beach access. So it was relatively close, pretty close. 5-minute walk, comfortable leisurely walk.
Yes.
Wasn't bad at all. The first night we got there, we was like, let's go walk on the beach. And we got there pretty late in the evening.
Yeah.
And so we went out to do a little evening walk on the beach. Took us 5 minutes to walk out there. But the reason we kept noticing the RV is because the RV was right at the place where our condos had access. Yes. So every time we were going to the beach, we'd see it. And every time we were coming back, we would see it. So it was there. It was noticeable.
Yes.
We'd been to Port Aransas tons of times, like you said before, and had a blast. But We never had stayed at a condo that close, and we paid for it though. We paid a
Yes.
lot.
Yes.
How much?
It was about $800 for 3 nights,
Yep.
I think, because it was 4 days total that we stayed there. So it was about $800.
And it was worth it though.
It
Like the
was.
beach
It was a good
access,
trip.
really
Yeah.
comfortable. It was a great trip. So not knocking the fact condos. It was Airbnb,
Yes.
so it was relatively.
It was
It
nice.
could be more expensive.
Right.
We could have stayed at a place that was probably as nice, but
Mhm.
for and paid more. Yeah, the beach access was important. We saw this RV going, and every time we'd walk out there and it'd be there. And this, so we went out to the beach every single day,
Mhm.
multiple times. And then the day that
It was still there.
we left the beach, and the RV was still there.
Yes.
And so in my head, I was just like, no. And not only was it there, like they had the whole spread out. They had the mats, they had the grill,
They had
they
a
had the
generator.
generator,
They had a
the whole.
grill.
And I
They
was just
had
like,
their whole chairs and everything out
yeah.
there. They were walking to and from the beach, and the beach was right there. Because I think in Port Aransas, it's about 50 feet, I want to say, from the beach,
Mhm.
where you have to park. So they were right up close.
Ridiculously comfortable.
Hmm.
It looked like they were at home. Um, and even still, they now that we know better, we didn't think about the fact that what were they doing for the bathroom, things like that. But even still,
But we started thinking about it. That's when we started thinking about all those things.
yeah. But so they had showers and bathrooms on the beach, though. You just had to walk a little bit. So even if their rig, we didn't know anything about rigs then. Even if it didn't have a bathroom, there was still a bathroom available, right? And we know now how important bathrooms are. So even where they were at, it was still fine.
Hmm.
So we left and we're driving back home,
Hmm.
and we're like, wonder how much that costs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we started doing the research, simple Google, real
I think
quick.
that's all we did on the way home was check out Google how much the RVs cost, how
Hmm.
much like a monthly payment would be,
Hmm.
um, and the different types of RVs that there were, because we really didn't know a whole lot about RVs in general. So we just looked up the different types that there are, the different, like, because there's motorhomes that you drive, and then there's travel trailers that you pull. So we just checked out the differences in those, and price was what we were really looking at, was how much does this actually cost to do
Hmm. And so we know from going to Port Aransas multiple times that it only costs you $12 a year
for a
parking pass for
parking
beach
permit.
access.
Hmm.
So $12. And so then we looked how much does it cost to park an RV on the beach, and you pay nothing extra. You just have the 3 days and 3 nights or 3 nights limit. But we think that the people that we watched stayed there a little longer than three
Stayed there a little
nights.
longer,
Yeah, but I
yes.
mean, but if they're not enforcing it, milk it as long as you can.
I think as long as you're not disruptive or anything like that, they probably don't enforce that 3 day, 3 night
Hmm.
rule.
So I looked, and this is in the blog post also, just a general kind of more or RV payment calculator. On average, about $22,000 to $24,000 RV runs you about 200 and some change, at the most $300 a month, and that's really where it kind of snapped for me. I was like, there's no way that that RV payment a month is more than $800.
Right.
And if it's not more than $800, then it is an investment. Since we go to Port Aransas every single year, it'll pay for itself
Hmm.
easily. If we take one or two more trips than we normally do, it'll easily pay for itself. And that kind of just got the ball rolling, like looking into this financial investment. So yeah, then we started shopping around, and that is a story in itself.
Yes.
So
This was in 2020,
Mhm.
so that says a lot.
Yeah, well, we didn't know that then, but we know now
Well, we did
what
then.
was going on. Well, we didn't know when we went to go shopping.
Yes.
We didn't find out till once we
When we got
started
there,
shopping.
yes, I
Yes,
see.
that
Yes.
what was happening, the boom.
Hmm.
So there was a pretty. We're not going to name names. We're not going to single out this lot, and you'll figure out why here in a bit. But pretty great lot. They had a huge selection
Huge. One of the biggest ones in that area.
in the area.
Yeah.
And we go there, and you walk in, and it's got the showroom floor, the whole shebang. And um, we had a great salesman.
We
You
did.
could tell he was definitely knowledgeable, that he actually did this for a
Hmm.
huge part of his life. He talked about how it was an investment for him to go camping with his children,
Hmm.
because he saved so much money, because all he could afford to do, because they had so many kids, right? So he
Right.
couldn't do Disney World. He couldn't do because that was too costly for him. And
Hmm.
flying was not an option, paying for those plane tickets. So exactly what we're doing, right?
Right.
We got we've got our girls, we've got the dogs. Like
Hmm.
it's just it costs a lot for us to go places, and so he's barking up our no, barking up our tree, right up our alley, with the saving money, taking trips, because that's
Hmm.
all we were needed it for at the
Right.
time.
Hmm.
And with that, through that lens, we went and looked at certain RVs. We looked at a
Yes.
Springdale.
Well, he was really good too because he narrowed it down. We had no idea what we wanted. I mean, we'd done a little bit of research, but we didn't know what we were getting,
Hmm.
and we had no idea what RVs really looked like. So he asked us what was the most important features to us, and then he narrowed it down to like three, I think.
Yep. Hmm.
That way we weren't overwhelmed looking at 20 different RVs and can't decide. So he was really good about picking ones, narrowing it down for us to
Definitely.
pick the ones that
And
we
the
could
way he
look
did
at.
that was he asked, well, when are you going to use it? How
Hmm.
often are you going to use it? Where are you taking it? And how many people are in it? What's
Right.
important to you? Do you want comfort? Do you want all the bells and whistles? And we're like, no, we just need it as a place to sleep while we're out
While we're
doing
out
things,
camping. Hmm.
um, which was exactly at that time,
Yes.
and our scope of vision was all we needed. So with that, we looked at the Springdale, and it
Hmm.
had like the aluminum siding with the wood frame, and it was a little heavier, but it took longer to get cooler in the summer, and it took longer to warm up in the winter.
There was one with a slide
Hmm.
and one without a slide. And then there was an all season one that we looked at. He
Hmm.
showed us the difference between like the all season, all weather ones that's
Hmm.
fiberglass and then the aluminum siding. So he did show us two. I don't remember why we didn't really like that one.
So the Springdale, the one that was the aluminum siding, was too small.
Well, that one, but the
Yeah,
other one, the one that was the fiberglass siding, um, I think was a little bit more expensive.
was that the Avenger?
No,
Oh,
it was a different one. I can't remember, but we didn't look at that one too long. I think it was because it was all season. It was a little bit more expensive, and we weren't really looking for something to do outside of Texas.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And so eventually we settled on the
The
Avenger,
Avenger.
and it came between the Avenger and a different model Avenger, or was it something a little bigger?
I don't remember.
Either way, it was about. Do you
There
want that?
was one that was bigger,
Hmm.
and it had a U-shaped dinette and a couch
Yeah, outside kitchen.
and an outdoor kitchen.
Yeah.
Yes, and then there was one that had a slide with not a U-shaped dinette, I think,
Hmm.
and a couch. Or no,
Yeah.
there was one without a couch, and then there was one with a U-shaped dinette, and then there was one with a regular dinette and a couch.
Hmm.
And that was the one that we picked. Was the one that had the uh, couch
And
and
no
then
outdoor
the dinette
kitchen,
and no outdoor
because
kitchen.
he told
Yes.
us,
Oh yeah, that's a story too.
yeah.
He was like, nobody ever uses these outdoor kitchens.
And
It's
we're like,
not that important.
why? What? No. We was like, we're
And
definitely gonna
yeah, I
use
was
it.
like, why would we not use an outdoor kitchen? That I mean, that sounds awesome.
Yeah. Little did we know. Literally, never. Like
Yes.
no one ever. Like, so we went ahead and passed on the outdoor kitchen
Yes.
using his guidance, and
Hmm.
passed on a lot of the bells and whistles. It was basically just enough room to fit us when we went somewhere, because we'd only be sleeping in it, because we'd be taking on weekend trips and
Right.
doing stuff around, not really spending a lot of time in the rig. And that was the Avenger.
Hmm.
The Avenger. Anyway, it's Avenger. Anyway, um, so yeah, that's where the story gets interesting. We went ahead and it's like, well,
That's the
let's
one
go
we
chew on it.
wanted, so we
Let's chew
put
on it. We went
right.
home and thought about it
Oh
for
yeah, we
like a
did.
night,
Hmm.
a day.
A day. We were- we said we'd be back in a few days
Yeah.
to give them an answer, but it was one day.
And so we called him the next day and said, it's the one we want. Then we set up an appointment to come in and put down the deposit.
Hmm.
And even then, we came back to put down the deposit, and he was pretty busy.
Yeah,
Um,
because I think we came back on a Friday
mhm.
or Saturday. It was a busy day.
But I think they were just busy overall.
No,
Period.
it was Fourth of July weekend. That's what it
There
was.
we go.
It was a holiday weekend, so
So
it was crazy.
yeah, and we just had no idea the scope. Like he told us that the demand was high, and this was right. Was this COVID time? Yeah,
Yeah, it
yeah,
was getting kind of crazy in
yeah.
Texas.
And they were doing the shutdowns, and
Hmm.
and so then we started to.
That's when they kind of enforced a mask mandate too, because we didn't actually have a mask mandate for a while,
Hmm.
and so things were starting to get a little out of hand.
But so yeah, we said we want this one. Put down a deposit. He's
Hmm.
like, okay, and that's when we were like made aware of the delays that are happening nationwide, just because the demand was going up. The factories were getting shut down because of COVID. So literally the production
The
line was
production was
slowed down
really far
ridiculously.
behind.
And I think this was just the beginning, honestly. I think from what I've been following on different RV posts and RV news, like it's gotten even worse because the demand is just keep going up and they're just so behind on materials. And not
Mhm.
just that, like the materials that they use, the lumber, like the housing market right now is blowing
Mhm.
up and they need the lumber as well. And
Like
so the
lumber
price is
is,
going really, really
yeah,
high. So
it's exceeded a lot.
so it was right at the beginning. And again, no fault to them at all, but
Yeah,
it took, they said we could pick it up mid-August.
right. They
So
said 6 weeks, I think.
yeah, and so we're like, okay, we were insanely motivated. We really
Mhm.
wanted to do this. You know, we it worked for our finances. I had
Yeah.
just paid off my truck,
Mhm.
and so essentially we'd be subbing the payment for the truck
Mhm.
for the payment for the RV when we ran the numbers and everything. And so we were just the waiting game. You know, like we
Mhm.
were waiting, and so we waited
We
six.
figured it wouldn't be too big of a deal either because it was in July. It
Yeah,
was hot.
yeah.
We weren't gonna go camping when it's 100 degrees outside.
hmm
So.
So we start planning for trips for the fall.
Mhm.
You know, like okay, well let's look at the calendar, look at lots, things like that. Start planning for the fall.
Because we knew that this was like a lot of people were doing this and there was a boom, right?
hmm
So we wanted to book trips because that was hard enough is getting places to book. So we wanted to go ahead and do that. That way we could book those trips. The first one we wanted to do was Labor Day weekend. We knew that weekend was coming up.
hmm
So we wanted to be able to have a spot. So I started trying to book for those.
Yeah, so you could call that ignorance on our part to
Mm.
not take into account the fact that our RV wouldn't be ready by that time.
We just assumed
Yeah.
because if somebody tells you, hey, it's going to be done at this time, then
hmm
we're the type of people that's like, okay, it should be done at that time.
Yeah, yeah, especially putting down a deposit.
Right.
Like we're paying to have this kind of security in the
Hmm.
deal and things like that. So, um, only problem is that every time we needed an update, like we got close to that date, we would call up there, try to talk to the salesman, and he'd be busy with another customer,
Hmm.
which is the boom. I could see it, you know, and more and more that happened, the more and more we began to be less excited with the experience and more frustrated.
Hmm.
And that was kind of a bummer. Until it got to, so then delivery day came, the day that it was supposed to be arriving in Texas from Indiana, I believe. And call up there and find out
I
it's
think
not
you
there.
called our salesman a couple of times and
hmm
left him a message and he didn't get back to you and you finally got frustrated enough to speak to somebody in management
hmm
and
And
that's when you finally got an answer.
well, it wasn't frustrating enough. It's just I needed some information, you
Hmm.
know, and I was just like, so, and I called and the reception desk would send me to the salesman. He wouldn't answer. So finally, I was like, you know, I need an answer to this. I need information. We're trying to book sites. You know, where this is supposed to be right this day. I was like, who can I talk to let me know, give me more definite information
Hmm.
on when this is happening. So I talked to the sales manager, who actually, she's like, well, let me put me in contact with the sales manager. This guy actually knows the inventory and what's
Yeah.
happening and what the delivery date. I was like, cool, that's perfect. Why couldn't I have found this out?
Right.
You
When we
know,
called multiple
multiple
times
times ago to
before
put me
to
in
get an
contact. The guy gave me
update
the exact dates, and so I finally talked to him, and then that's when I found out that they hadn't even finished building it yet. It wouldn't be rolling off the line until
for 2 more weeks.
2 weeks after that. And I was just like, okay. At this point, I was completely frustrated with the situation. And it was turning into something negative for us, you know,
Yeah.
really.
We were disheartened.
Yeah. And then, so I was like, okay, well, let's keep shopping.
Yeah.
Let's keep shopping. We didn't pull the plug on that one. We just like kept shopping. And so then you reached out to,
A different lot further away.
and we definitely want to talk about them.
At least an hour and a half, I think,
hmm
away.
Yes, we're going to
So
name them by name because it was absolutely phenomenal. It's Crestview
in Buda,
RV in Buda, Texas.
yes, in Buda,
And
Texas.
you worked with
Travis,
Travis. Travis was really, really great.
yes.
Why?
I told him the story of kind of our our buy, and told him kind of what was going on and how frustrated we were and how we wanted something now. Like we were ready to buy. We didn't want to wait anymore. We were ready, and so I told him exactly what we needed, and he said that he would look for me. I think it wasn't very long after I spoke to him, he immediately sent me three. He texted me three links for different RVs. They were more expensive. All of them were more expensive than what we had told him that we were comfortable with. And then, so we went home, or I went home and we looked at them together. And so one of them was way too heavy. We were not going to be able to pull it with our truck. Um, One of them, I think both of them actually. There was one that was kind of heavy, but we would have been okay, but barely. And then there was the last one that we
Hmm.
looked at. That was a little bit more expensive, had some features that we hadn't really thought about, and that's the one that we went down to look at.
I mean, and above all, it was in Austin. Like we could go and put our hands on it. Like if like we're
Yes,
ready
it
to
was there.
buy,
Yes.
we could buy it now.
I don't think we mentioned that before though for the other one. Like we didn't
Hmm.
actually look at the RV that we were picked out in the at the
That's a
other
very good
place.
point. Yeah, the ones that he showed us, he helped us bracket it at the other lot. The
Hmm.
sales very knowledgeable. So he showed us one a little bit more than what we wanted, and he
And a
showed
little
us
bit
one a little bit
less.
less.
Hmm.
And so we picked the one in the little pamphlet, the
Yes,
manual, right
yes,
in the middle.
yes.
And that was exactly what we needed. Like I wouldn't say needed, exactly what we thought we needed, budget wise,
Hmm.
what we were going to be using it for, things like that.
Yeah, so
Uh,
we didn't actually look at it. We had no idea
yeah.
what it actually looked like.
And it was totally fine because he said, okay, it'll take 6 weeks for it to get here. And
Hmm.
we're like, okay, fine,
Yep,
no big deal. But
yep.
that was
But this
Ben.
one
Yeah.
was actually there at the lot, so we could actually go down and look at it and fall in love with it.
Yep. It was the 2020 Starcraft Superlight
Yep.
261BH.
Yes.
We named it the Galactica. We'll get more into that why that was. But anyway, so we get there, we go ahead and go through the whole process. We buy the deal, we check it out. It's a little bit bigger, a little bit more expensive,
There's
got
a
a little
lot
bit
of
more bells and
features.
whistles out. Yeah.
It was the aluminum siding, not the aluminum, the fiberglass siding.
Hmm.
So it was an all-weather one. It had the enclosed underbelly. It had an outdoor kitchen.
Hmm.
And then what else did it have? It has a slide out, but the couch and the dinette is in the slide out.
Hmm.
Um, and some other like smaller features, but those are pretty big ones. And it was about $6,000 or $7,000 more
Hmm.
than the other one that we were looking at.
Definitely. And so now that we've talked about both, um, well, no, let's finish talking about the experience and why it frustrates me so much the original experience that we had because I think we could have ended up at the same place with the same dealer
Right.
and not to talk them down too much, but anyway, so we get there, and not this lot here, this is a huge difference in their sales experience. The Crestview RV and Buda, absolutely amazing, because once you buy it, they let you camp on site
Hmm.
for a night, they talk you through the whole deal. You can get a feel for it. We thought that was absolutely amazing, and that's probably more common than what we think. But when
Hmm.
we heard about it, we are like, this is great. This is awesome. We
Yeah.
know it wasn't offered at the one that we were before.
Right. Hmm.
So we go up there the day of. We make it a trip just for the two of us to spend the first night in the Galactica, and it was really really comfortable. We had an amazing technician, Joe.
Hmm.
Talked to us literally after about an hour or so. He was so thorough.
We spent a long time with him, which I was really surprised because I don't think we would have had that experience at the other one because the Galactica was actually set up at one of the campsites. So he walked us through step by step of everything.
Hmm.
Hook up, hooking up the truck, taking the truck off, the hose, the electric, everything. He walked us through. I think we spent close to 2 hours with him.
Yeah, like I said, he was so thorough,
Hmm.
so patient. Like he entertained every
I'm
single
pretty sure
question.
we asked some pretty dumb questions, and he was really awesome with
We were
us.
newbies,
Yes.
and but the fact that I mean I'm pretty adept, right? I can understand things, but it usually takes me one or two times maybe to see it demonstrated. But I think just the way that he communicated the
Hmm.
information and showed in real time and answered any questions that I had. Um,
We were extremely comfortable.
so we had got it on. They weren't open on Sundays.
Hmm.
They were only there on Saturdays and Fridays and Saturdays.
Hmm.
So when we were leaving was Sunday.
It was a Sunday.
So we would have to completely hook up and everything and leave without any assistance. So we had to get it all the information on
Saturday.
Saturday
Yes.
and then get the solo flight, the test flight the next day, and had no issues whatsoever.
Right.
And I
Hmm.
just again I attribute that completely to Joe, amazing
Yeah.
technician. Again, Crestview RV in Buda, Texas. They took really really great care of us. This is where it bugs me though, is that we were willing to spend more money.
Yes. We did, obviously,
That bigger RV than what we actually wanted was on the lot at the
at the
first
other
place.
one.
We could have touched it, we could have bought it.
Hmm.
I think that if we had have spoken, had an opportunity to speak to our original salesman a
Hmm.
couple of times, right, in
Right.
that beginning when we were getting frustrated and we needed he could have made the sale with
He
us.
could have.
He
Yes.
could have said, okay, well, look, we can't get this here, but we could possibly put you in something else if you're willing to flex your
Hmm.
budget a little bit.
Yes, I believe so. I
And
believe he could have.
I just
something
I'm
else.
I'm pretty convinced that it he the feast of the boom got us sidelined, right? He had so much business elsewhere. He was making so many sales because of the boom that I think the
I mean,
customer
it's
service may
yeah,
have
and
slid a
it's
little
it's
bit.
speculation, but we were looking at a travel trailer, and so
Mhm.
you make more money off the bigger trailers, the fifth wheels, um, and things. So I feel like we weren't as a big of sale for him, so he kind of sidelined us.
Yeah, yeah. So definitely, like I said, it is speculation. I
Hmm.
do think that that may have been the case. Um,
That and he
but
was
the issue is
overwhelmed
like
too.
the
He
what
had a lot.
kind of confirms it is that they called after, later.
Yes, I
This
forgot
is
about that.
what we had already been in the Galactica for what
Couple weeks.
two couple weeks,
Hmm.
and then we get a call from the salesman. You know, hey, your RV's
This
here.
was the first time that we heard
It
from our
heard from him like
salesman
he
in
had
two
called
months.
us like outside of the credit check right before the deposit.
Yes.
That's the one time that he called us, and that really makes me think that I believe that they dropped the ball, or that place in particular dropped the ball where they had so many opportunities, so many different ways they were making the money because of the boom in the sales
Hmm.
that they kind of let the customer service slip a little bit.
Yeah.
But either way, that's kind of our sales story and how we accidentally found, and why I say we accidentally found the perfect RV is because once we got in this thing and we started taking trips and we just realized how amazing this lifestyle is,
Hmm.
we are definitely spending significantly more time in it and
Yes.
taking it to much different places that we had planned to originally. And yeah, like it's the perfect RV for us. And now, what we're going to spoil it. We're seriously considering moving full time into the Galactica and pursuing this lifestyle full time,
Hmm.
taking it on the road, traveling around the nation. So if we had have gotten that original, the Avenger,
Hmm.
you know,
I think we would have been able to do it, but things would have been a
a
little
little more
bit more
difficult, a little more
difficult.
uncomfortable,
Hmm.
probably, yeah, but
It was not at all season one,
hmm
so we would not have been able to go north at all during cold months
hmm
because we would have had to worry about freezing. The underbelly wouldn't have been enclosed, so we would have had to worry about. We would just had a. It would have been a different experience because it would have been very limited to what we could do.
So yeah, that was our sales experience. That's how we ended up in our RV. Like I said, could not be happier. There's actually a YouTube video. I will post the link in the show in the comments on the episodes. You can watch it there. Also, there'll be a link embedded in the blog post where we talk a little bit more. You see the hard numbers. It also has that RV payment calculator on it, and you can see the map as far as where we were at in Port Aransas and the difference between where the you could park versus where we were at in the condo. So a little bit more information in the blog post again. And if you'd rather watch this will be available on YouTube. Yeah, so hopefully you enjoyed hearing about our RV sale experience and how we came Galactica. Oh, Galactica, right? So why the
Oh
Galactica?
yes,
Why
that's a story
Battlestar
too.
Galactica? Why is this kind of the thesis? Why are we trying to pair our journeys with this sci-fi show that we absolutely enjoy? We've seen the entire series, not the original one, not the one that came back in 60s or 70s, the miniseries that aired on Sci-Fi
Yes.
like early 2000s. We've seen from beginning to end maybe about four times.
Hmm.
Never gets old. We watch it on repeat pretty much.
Yeah.
But so yeah, but what do you like about the show?
You were gonna go first.
Okay, I'll go first. Uh, I like the fact that it's the perfect blend of Star Wars and Star Trek, I think. I think Star Wars, there are a lot of things, as far as the space aspect is concerned, uh, lacks a lot of realism in a way that the X-Wings and the Falcon and way thrusters and sound and everything work in space. Um, and then it's like the galaxy is known in Star Wars. Like you get all these different systems and things like that. And then in Star Trek, you have this exploration aspect of it, and there's a lot more. You deal with the fact that this one ship is out there by itself in these places that it's new, never known. Um, so Battlestar Galactica kind of combines this desperation aspect of survival. I don't want to spoil too much of the show because we will definitely be talking about the show episode by episode through our podcasts and through the YouTube videos. So we're going to general premise. There's the show is so timely,
Hmm.
and the way that the ships move, they use thrusters, and you can tell that they really heavily incorporate actual physics in the star battles and the way the ships move through space. It's really gritty. It's very real.
Yeah.
So the way the ships move, and the kind of the things that the people are dealing with in the show are very timely. The graphics hold up over a long period of time. The actors were not really that well known, but very very talented. Edward James Olmos is plays Admiral Adama in the show, and I remember seeing him in Selena. That was the first time I had seen him, but delivers such an amazing performance all through the show. So the characters all evolve in so many different ways, and again, it deals with a lot of philosophical issues,
Mm-hmm.
political issues, and then there's space battles, right? It's sci-fi to the core. So we will definitely be talking about that a lot more. But yeah, like I said, so we're going to be talking more about the show, doing an episode by episode kind of breakdown and what we think of it all through the course of making our podcast shows and showing our travels across
Mm-hmm.
our voyage across the United States as they voyage through space.
Yes.
And kind of yeah, I'll just say that I don't want to spoil too much. So what about you? What do you like about the show?
I liked the show for first of all because I like sci-fi. But the main reason I like the show is just the storyline of it, kind of how it starts, and I really like the storyline between the characters and the Cylons, um, and how the dynamic changes throughout the story. So I really like that. Starbuck is one of my favorite characters.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah. And then I don't know why. I really like her, and so I liked watching her develop throughout the show. Um, but I guess the main reason that I like it is because it was something that he enjoyed, and so he brought. I don't know. I just felt brought on when we started dating, and it was one of his favorite shows at that time because I think you'd only watched it maybe once
Hmm.
then, and you wanted to watch it, and so then we watched it together, and so he watched me watching it for the first time, and so that was fun.
Yes. So yeah, I think that's a good place to go in this particular podcast, and hopefully you've found something interesting about us that resonates with you, something interesting about Battlestar Galactica, and maybe you're interested in how that's going to overlap with our journey.
Hmm.
So like I said, we will try and I don't know. I'd like to put out a podcast at least every 2 weeks. We'll shoot for every 2 weeks.
We will try.
The podcasts are definitely going to run behind our actual travels. I would
Hmm.
say about 2 weeks. But we've been RVing for about 6 or 7 months now,
Yeah.
and I definitely have information I want to talk about from all the places that we've been and the things that
Hmm.
we've experienced and things that we've learned. So we'll be getting caught up on 6 to 7 weeks worth of information. We'll definitely be doing blog posts. So if you prefer to just read or see more in depth in these places on the internet, as opposed to hearing us talk about them, that content will be up there. And again, if you prefer to watch things instead of just listen to them, they'll be on YouTube.
YouTube.
So you can again find us on Instagram at
So say we travel.
and we have sosaywetravel.com as our website, and then on YouTube I think our channel is the same name.
So say we travel.
Exactly. Yeah. So there we go. So we travel. So again, so great for y'all to join us today. Hope you had a great time, and see you on the other side. See you on the
See
road.
you down the road.
See you down the road. Apparently that's the thing people
Yes.
say when they RV. So
Yes.
see you down the road.
See you down the road.
Have a good one.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.
We hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, please consider liking the video and subscribing to our video channel and podcast. We have absolutely loved building connections with the RV community and anyone else interested in this lifestyle.
So if you'd like to connect with us, please feel free to follow us on Instagram at So Say We Travel and on YouTube at So Say We Travel, or visit us at sosaywetravel.com.
See you down the road.